both child development majors, so anybody out there who's in education will understand this. And so what hit me one day when I was thinking about what has happened to us recently was that I said, marriages where two become one. But I don't know why the analogy of parallel play came up in my mind. And so for those of you who don't know what parallel play is parallel play is a stage when toddlers live in toddlers' lives when they play next to children, but not necessarily with children. And they can spend time and they can be in the same room and they can be playing next to another child, but again, not with them. And so that made me think about how often are people in marriages in parallel, but not with one another. Yeah. And I think what happens is that instead of us being side by side, I could have just stayed next to you in that while you were going through what you were going through. But my prayer was like, this is not just her going through it. I'm going through it too. I'm impacted by this too. But not only that, what can I do in order to help her go through this easier? What can I do to help her go through it as opposed to only thinking about me? And so thinking about me and all those selfish thoughts, I just think that it was the enemy's way of trying to find a way in. And, as we heard in the conference and we've heard on many podcasts, expose the lie. Yeah. It's not like you were doing it on purpose, but the enemy would try to whisper things in my mind to try to plant seeds where if we did not, like previously in COVID, we started to get closer. And what I really appreciated about COVID is that a lot of marriages failed in COVID because people had to live together instead of parallel playing. Yeah. And so now when you're in the house together, I think what happened is that we really got to know one another even better in this season and phase of life that we're in right now. And what's been happening is that as we've been doing our walk and worship together, we've been on our walks. That's a great time of intimacy where my walk and worship had become my thing. And I really enjoy doing that. But now I've learned and I've grown to love them even more when I'm walking with you, because those are some very intimate conversations that we have as we're walking. But the one thing that I'm getting to the point of is that I was listening the other day. I was listening to a book, Sacred Marriage, and he made this, the Gary Thomas, I believe, is the author. He made this statement. He says, you have to understand your spouse before you can respect them. And then you have to respect them before you can truly love them. And I think what's happened for us is that we have in this season, even leading up to, through COVID and even now during this season of our marriage, it's been 20 some years, but we have really dedicated ourselves to understanding one another even more. So that we can then now even respect what it is that we're going through, how our lives are being impacted, spiritually, emotionally, physically, etc. And then it's caused us to be able to truly love, which is unconditional. And even I remember one day when you said it for the first time, because you being in the house with me, you had never seen what my day is like. Yeah. And so you've heard me on the phone sometimes from sun up to sundown, and you've heard my conversations with people, ministering to people, pouring out so much. And I think some of the days you've heard me literally talking for 12 hours straight, 12 hours. And so previously you wouldn't see that because I would be in the office and then I would come home and then you'd be like, why are you quiet? Why are you not saying that? Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh my God, because I don't want to talk. Like I'm done talking. I'm ready
to process my day. Like, hey.
And so, but I also realized in that is that it's unfair for me to be out and to be at work ministering and giving everything to everybody else and then have nothing left when I come home. So I had to balance that. But at the same time, you were able to understand, you were able to respect it. And then the love that you had for me was that let me give him time because I've seen this. And not only if I do want to talk, it's not about let me decompress my day. You then would ask me about how was your day? What was you, and that was the other thing that shifted in us. Instead of asking questions like, how was your day? It became, what was the most difficult part of your day? Which gave you time to decompress. It was, then how did that make you feel? And in even some instances, it was like, you know, here's what I recommend, or what did you come up with, or what will you be doing because of that? And so I think, you know, it just proved that you saw me, you heard me, not even about what was happening in our relationship, but what was happening, I mean, in our marriage, but what was happening to me and through me in another context, but how it impacted our relationship. So I just think that because of this season that we're in, we've really worked hard at learning one another and not allowing anyone, anything, our own selfish thoughts, the enemy, anything to plant seeds inside of us that would cause division in between us. And that's what I've appreciated about this season.